Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. The environmental challenges human beings confront today and for the foreseeable future are almost too daunting to face. Almost. Climate change, endangered species, and safe drinking water are only a few of the pressing problems that require solutions, and fast. Researchers, teachers, and graduate students at UVM's Gund Institute for the Environment are taking these challenges head on. But this isn't some think tank. The Gund Institute works with people and leaders in the community to aid in answering these tough questions. Joining me is Taylor Ricketts. He's the director of the Gund Institute for the Environment at the University of Vermont. His research centers on meeting the needs of people and nature in a crowded and changing world. Thomas Reuters named him one of the world's most cited and influential scientists. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
That's kind of a challenging thing when somebody says, he's, this is one of our big scientists, right, and we have you right here. So, and indeed it is. So let's start with the big picture. Tell us about the Gund Institute. What is it all about?
Yeah, so the Gund Institute is a campus-wide research center at UVM, and we mobilize researchers from across the university to work together in new ways and to work with leaders outside the university in new ways so that we can understand these big environmental challenges in a more holistic way, and we can more smartly go about solving them together.
So this isn't just biologists. You're talking business people and economics and
that's right.
Social sciences.
That's right. If you take a look at the list of environmental problems you just said in the intro, none of those is a biology problem only. None of those is an economics problem only. None of those is a communications or engineering problem only. Every single one of them is all of those things at once and more. And universities aren't typically set up to attack problems in the real world in that interdisciplinary, cross-cutting way. And the Gund Institute is about trying to change that.
So what are the major issues? You can't do everything, so
right.
how have you prioritized and narrowed down to the issues that you're really focused on?
Yeah, so we spent almost a year really carefully deciding what our focus would be, and we landed on 4 big issues that have a lot of environment at their core. Those are climate change solutions, sustainable agriculture, resilient communities, and human health and well-being. So each of those is a global issue. It's on the list of Sustainable Development Goals by the UN, but each of those is one of those lists that UVM is really set up to make a good contribution to, and those issues touch down really strongly in Vermont too.
In Vermont, so we might be able to help. So these are really intractable challenges. So just one example or two of projects that you're actually working on to deal with some of these things.
Yeah, so on the sustainable agriculture one, we're working with the Nature Conservancy and a bunch of other groups to figure out to what degree restoring wetlands on landscapes, including on farms, can help improve the water quality of the Lake Champlain Basin. So what is the value of wetlands in restoring water quality as opposed to other interventions? We have a global project trying to understand the relationship between forests and conserving forests and children's health, with about 1 million children in about 50 countries in a database we have, and we're showing all kinds of health benefits of having just forests nearby for children's health. So that's 2 of many, many, many that fit within those 4 big themes of ours.
That's right. I love that. Around children near forests are healthier children. And so what is the role of Gund and universities in particular when it comes to solving these major problems? We might have sort of covered it, but
a little bit. I think the amount of expertise and know-how and energy and brain power at a university is just massive and impressive, and I think we need to harness that around these big societal challenges. So the firepower is there, the knowledge and the skills are there, but orienting that around real-world problems, being partners with people trying to solve those problems in governments and NGOs, that's a role for universities that can increase our impact immensely.
And then one of Gund's partners, of course, is at the University of Vermont, is Extension.
Yes, for sure.
And so, which is very cool. So let's hear from Vern Grubinger, the UVM Extension Vegetable and Berry Specialist, about this collaboration.
Sounds great.
The Gund Institute's been great bringing their scientific research to farmers so they really understand what's going on with pollinators, and I always love it when you see that link between rigorous academic research and potential application. Well, I've been interested in the research on pollinators at the Gund Institute. Obviously, pollination is really important on farms that grow fruits and vegetables that require pollination. That's one of the things that is really great about UVM is when you have relationships between researchers, teachers, extension folks, that kind of lays the foundation for when an opportunity comes along to make connections. How's that solar project going, Mike? Extension has really strong networks with farmers around the state. Many of us have worked with them for decades and understand their needs and have professional and personal relationships with them. So when an opportunity comes along to get them involved in a research project, part of our role is to be the conduit between the scientists who wouldn't know the farmers very well because they're not out in the field and us. So we help make that connection happen.
If you're just tuning in, I'm talking with Taylor Ricketts, the director of the Gund Institute for the Environment at UVM. And, so what does ongoing research like Vern is talking about, how is that used that can't be replicated in the lab?
Yeah, so the first thing to say is Extension is a really inspiring example of the kinds of things we're talking about really engaging research with the people who might use that knowledge for good. Extension's been doing that for more than a century, and here we are talking about the Gund Institute. I think what we're trying to do is broaden that to the whole campus, beyond just Extension, try to get everybody working a little bit more like Extension in much more engaged footing with people who use that knowledge. But your question is, we could do a lot of research in the lab or in a greenhouse or something, but really listening to, in this case, farmers, what are the issues that are on their minds, and then designing research around those questions and then answering them. What's at the end of that for us is impact, way, way more impact. Our stuff gets used, our knowledge gets put to work, and the world gets better. So that's what the promise is of the kinds of stuff he was talking about.
So there's that reciprocal thing. So hopefully you can take that knowledge that we're doing right here in Vermont out to the world, really.
No, it's true. Vermont is in many ways a nice little laboratory, we often call it, for some of the big issues facing the whole planet. We have water quality issues, we have trade-offs between agriculture and environment, we have a big basin that we have to manage in a holistic way. We're seeing the effects of climate change. We have environmental risks to our health. So all these things that are these big global issues we've taken on as the Gund Institute have really local implications, and we can use that to learn lessons that are applicable elsewhere.
That's awesome. And the Gund has been part of UVM for about 15 years, but a couple of years ago you did a relaunch. So what's different about it?
Yeah, so this model of trying to do interdisciplinary research on real world issues just was getting a lot of traction, and so we decided it was time to really scale it up. And so a couple years ago, the Gund Institute did a sort of relaunch, I guess you might call it, and we moved into the central provost office of the university. And that might sound like a small detail, but it really gives us the footing to engage across UVM, from the medical school to the engineering department to philosophy. And also we raised a lot more funding to grow the institute. So over the next 5 years, we'll roughly triple in size and budget. And that's just going to give us a lot more resources and engaged people to do a lot more of the work we're talking about.
And sometimes they talk about universities having their own silos. Are people responding to this? Let's all get on this train together?
People really, really love it. So since we've relaunched, we've more than doubled the number of UVM faculty that have become part of the Gund Institute. They're all appointed where they're appointed in their home departments, but they become fellows of this institute. So once we had sort of the central standing and the resources to be effective, in 2 years we've had twice the number of fellows join up, and we've had 3 or 4 times the number of people outside of UVM get involved. So the Gund Institute is not just among UVM researchers. There are 60 people working at 40 institutions far from UVM that are also affiliated with the institute.
Wow. So when you were coming up, did you wish there had been a Gund Institute?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the training the grad students get within the Gund Institute when they're affiliated with it is the training that we're going to need future leaders to have, to think about problems in cross-cutting ways, to not just be a biologist or economist, but to think about how to solve problems no matter what the knowledge and skills and tools are that we need to solve those. And that's the training that people at the Gund Institute get. I didn't have such a place, so I had to learn that kind of stuff in a much slower, more painful way through my career. So it would have been much easier and faster had I had a gun institute when I was in school.
Well, what a wonderful holistic way of thinking
Yeah.
and looking at our problems.
Yeah.
So what's next for the Gun Institute?
Oh, so much. So of the many, many things, I'm really excited about a partnership we're building with the College of Medicine on campus. So that's a really, really strong unit at UVM, and there's a lot of environment health interest and a lot to do there. So we're really trying to forge a really strong partnership between the Larner College of Medicine and the Gun Institute. That's going to bear a lot of fruit. We're talking a lot about hemp in Vermont and taking sort of a very interdisciplinary look at how hemp could affect the environment across the Vermont landscape, as well as our economy and many other things as a new crop for the state, as many states are facing. And then besides those two that I can just name, it's the stuff that I can't even imagine. So in the last 2 years, we've given seed funding to 10 new projects, clusters of faculty with really cool new ideas. And I just can't wait to see where they go. Can't predict it. And in the fall, 9 new grad students and postdocs will be arriving. That's up from usually 2 a year before this relaunch. And those people are going to do amazing things that I can't even predict. So lots on the horizon, most of which it's hard to even know.
And research both here and across the globe.
Emphatically, yes. So we try to work all over the world and in Vermont, and when we're doing our jobs right, we're learning between those two
And making
zones.
those connections.
Yeah.
Taylor Ricketts, the director of the Gun Institute. This is very exciting work. I hope you come back and talk about
I hope
us
so
again.
too. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.